Good morning. It's good to see you all and welcome. I was thinking about what to start with this morning, and there's been a good few jokes around on Facebook, and I thought, shall I share one of those? But actually, my absolute favourite, which I couldn't stop laughing, and if you don't know anything about cricket, you won't understand this. So Diego, sorry. Matt's cartoon in the Daily Telegraph online is a little cartoon of the man rolling out the cricket pitch and somebody from the club saying to him, "It's ridiculous that we can't play cricket. Our team have never caught anything." Last one? Yeah, I thought that you did. That did make me smile. There you go, that's today's joke, and that's your ration. Sorry, Diego, I can explain it to you later. You are more than welcome. We haven't got many notices, actually, because most of the groups are still not meeting here. But do pray for them. Pray for the Ladies Sewing Circle. Many of them are missing the company and what they do together. Particularly pray, I saw Fanny Davis this week. Particularly pray for the people at the Stepping Stones Carers Group on Thursday. They are meeting for coffee where they can spread out, but obviously they can't come here. There's too many of them and they are extra vulnerable. So do pray for them. Fanny is keeping in touch with them, which is good. Food Bank has never stopped. So there you go. 3 weeks in August?
No, it's not 3 weeks, just at the start.
Oh, yes, at the start and then starting again. So well done everybody who takes part in that. Is there any shopping with you?
At present, no.
Okay. If you want to do shopping for the food bank, either Jeff or Lillian, probably Lillian is the best one to talk to, because she's got a handle on all of that. Well, Lord, here we are. How good to be here. It's, you know, how much we miss meeting together, don't we, all the time, do it? I don't know whether you're aware, you probably are, that I love jigsaw puzzles. I've nearly always got one on the table to do. And you know, the thing with jigsaw puzzles is that because you get them from the charity shop and they get swapped around everybody, sometimes there's a missing piece. And okay, you can still enjoy the puzzle, but when there's a missing piece, the picture is incomplete. And this is really what was in my mind when I read these verses from Hebrews. This is Hebrews chapter 1. In many separate revelations, each of which set forth a portion of the truth, and in different ways God spoke of old to our forefathers in and by the prophets. This is the jigsaw puzzle of God, if you like. He's speaking through the prophets and through different people in the Old Testament, and it's a portion of the truth. This is the amplified version, by the way, if you've got a different version. So this is the jigsaw puzzle, but there's still a piece missing until verse 2. But in the last of these days, God has spoken to us in the person of a Son, whom he appointed heir and lawful owner of all things, also by and through whom he created the worlds and the reaches of space and the ages of time. He made, produced, built, operated and arranged them in order. And we know, because other scriptures tell us, that he sustains all things by the word of his power. Verse 3. Who is this mysterious person? This Son, this heir, this owner of all things, creator of everything. Jesus. He, Jesus, is the sole expression of the glory of God. The Amplified fills out the verse. The light being, that's our Jesus. The light being, light of the world. The outraying or radiance of the divine. And he is the perfect imprint and very image of God's nature, upholding, maintaining, guiding and propelling the universe. I had this vision when I read that of all the planets swirling around his face, because we know they do. God's propelling them. The universe, propelling the universe by his mighty word of power. This is Jesus. when he had, by offering himself, accomplished our cleansing of sin and riddance of guilt, he sat down at the right hand of the divine majesty on high. Did you notice that word, riddance of guilt? I guess if you like me, maybe when you were growing up, somebody left the area who wasn't popular, or something went away that wasn't good, and you would use the phrase good riddance to that thing, to that person. Jesus said, good riddance to your guilt and to my guilt. So don't hang on to it. If you've got guilt in your life, remember that Jesus has dealt with it. And when he dealt with it, he sat down at the right hand of the divine majesty on high. The last piece in the puzzle. The picture is complete. You know, I don't know if you've ever wondered what language they speak in heaven. I've heard, I've heard various thoughts on that. Hebrew, well, I suppose that would make sense. Welsh, I think, is a strong contender. I'll tell you what the language of heaven is. The language that God uses and the language of heaven is Jesus. That's all. That's simple, that wonderful. And he's the one we come to praise and worship this morning. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We need to sing up, because there's not that many of us.
Morning, everybody. Okay. Is it loud? Oh.
You're fine.
Big mouth. Those of you who are regulars here, who were attending this church just after the flood, will remember that at that time I started a series called A Basket of Fruits, based on the fruits of the Spirit. Starting with love, can you remember what they are? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Okay, and I've done all of the others apart from gentleness. We missed it out. So I thought I would just finish off the series, if that's okay with you. Partly because I'd actually written it. And so we're looking at gentleness today, that fruit of the Spirit, and the reading I'm taking this morning, if you've got your Bibles, if you want to turn to Thessalonians, 1 Thessalonians, and it's chapter 2, and I'm beginning to read at verse 1. Now, it's going to be on the screen as well, but if you have your Bibles, turn to them, because I'm going to be referring to some of the passages from this reading. Okay? So, 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, beginning to read at verse 1. You know, brothers and sisters, that our first visit to you was not without results. We had previously suffered and been treated outrageously in Philippi, as you know. But with the help of our God, we dared to tell you his gospel in the face of strong opposition. For the appeal we make does not spring from error or impure motives, nor are we trying to trick you. On the contrary, we speak as those approved by God to be entrusted with the gospel. We're not trying to please people, but God, who tests our hearts. You know, we never used flattery, nor did we put on a mask to cover up greed. God is our witness. We were not looking for praise from people, nor from you, or anyone else. Even though, as apostles of Christ, we could have asserted our authority. Instead, we were like young children among you. Just as a nursing mother cares for her children, so we cared for you, because we loved you so much. We were delighted to share with you not only the gospel of God, but our lives as well. Surely You remember, brothers and sisters, our toil and hardship. We worked night and day in order not to be a burden to anyone while we preached the gospel of God to you. You are witnesses, and so is God, of how holy, righteous, and blameless we were among you who believed. For you know that we dealt with each of you as a father deals with his own children, encouraging, comforting, and urging you to live lives worthy of God, who calls you into his kingdom and glory. Thanks for God's word there, huh? Okay. Well, back home in England, when I was a child, we used to sing a hymn in Sunday school. Can you turn next slide, CJ, for me, please? I'm sorry, I haven't got the clicker today. But that song was "Gentle Jesus, meek and mild, look on me, a little child." Anybody remember that one from when? How did it go? "Gentle Jesus, meek and mild, look on me, a little child. Pity my simplicity, suffer me to come to the..." Yeah, that's right. And this picture of gentleness was often reinforced by this picture of Jesus in our children's Bibles, wasn't it? Of the shepherd holding a lamb, wearing a gleaming robe and with a scrubbed face. And in fact, there was just such a picture on the wall of one of my Sunday school classrooms. And I think this very word, gentleness, can sometimes conjure up wrong images for us. It can be a syrupy, self-denying quality, or a quality perhaps that ladies possess, but not real men. You know what I'm saying? Gentle. Let me say, gentleness is not necessarily meekness. It can be, and it may not necessarily be a bad thing for us to have an element of meekness in our character. Can you change the slide, CJ, please? But don't ever equate meekness with weakness. I had a friend who worked with me in Jerusalem, and he had a saying. He used to say, "You try being meek for a week and see if meek means weak." I'll say that again if you didn't get it. You try being meek for a week and see if meek means weak. Change the slide, CJ, please. Aristotle, he said this: gentleness is the balance between excessive anger and the inability to be angry. And gentleness can also mean humility or considerate. So in reality, it can be a wonderful quality in our overall personality. And in today's passage, Paul starts by reminding the Thessalonians that just prior to visiting them, he and Silas had been in Philippi, where they'd been imprisoned and they'd been severely flogged. And it seems that some of his enemies from Philippi had followed him up the road to Thessalonica, where their vilification and their opposition to his ministry continued. And yet he bravely continues to share the gospel with them. And in this passage, Paul clears himself of the charges that they bring against him by reminding them of what actually happened when he was with them. In verses 3 to 6, he gives examples of how not to preach the gospel, how not to share Jesus with other people. It seems there have always been quack preachers around. Althea and I have seen them often on our trips to the States when we're in a television, in a hotel room and we're watching some of the God channels on television. And I call them holy get you rich quick teachers. In verse 3 he refers to these tricksters who deceive people. They tell untruths or partial truths. CJ, sorry, I forgot to ask you. They use flattery to charm people. It seems TV preachers often claim not to favour any particular denomination, but I've seen their eyes light up at 10, 20 and $50 bills. They favour them all right. Conversely, Paul wasn't on the make in any sense, and he just wanted them to think about that and they would realise the fact. Actually, Althea and I know of one extremely famous American TV evangelist. And he has a nationwide television show from coast to coast in the States. And he announced one year on his show that he was going to come to where we worked in Jerusalem, to the Garden Tomb, on Easter Sunday morning. And he will be there Easter Sunday morning inside the tomb, and if people wanted him to pray for them while he was there, would they send him their prayer requests? Along with a cheque, of course. Well, apart from the fact that he never asked us at the Garden Tomb if he could do this, the truth is, we know that he came nowhere near our garden on that Easter Sunday morning. This particular man has a feature about him that is instantly recognisable, and we know that he never came to the garden on Easter Sunday morning. Also, he would also know that on Easter Sunday morning at the garden, we held 6 services from 5 o'clock in the morning right through to 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And the whole of the front of the Garden Tomb is closed off to visitors. No one is allowed in there on Easter Sunday morning. My genuine belief is he never even intended to come. But I wonder how much that man and his vast organisation, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars they made out of that one escapade. I guess only he and God knows, but one day he's going to have to answer for that. But I use that as an illustration that there have been men who try to use the preaching of the gospel in order to get rich. Men who've been using their position to mask their greed. And according to Paul, this has been going on right from the birth of Christianity. It's not something new. But Paul was with them not to obtain their praises or to please them, but to please God, he says in verse 4. The next slide, CJ, please. And Paul contrasts these deceitful ways that he shows here with the actual ways in which he shared Christ with them. If you notice in verse 7 how Paul starts to use the analogy of a mother with her children to illustrate the kind of gentleness he displayed among them. Not only did he not come to take from them, but he came to give. He says in verse 8, so we cared for you because we loved you so much. We were delighted to share with you not only the gospel of God, but our lives as well. He came to give not only the gospel, but they came to give of themselves. You see, it was customary in those days when a new preacher came into town that someone in the town would take them into their homes, put a roof over their head, provide them with all that they needed, and feed them and support them. But on the contrary, Paul and his companions, it says, toiled night and day, just like a mother does for her children, so that they would put no burden on the Thessalonians. And after working at their trade all day to support themselves, they then preached the gospel to them. And all of this done because of Paul's love for them, because they've become so dear to him, he says here in verse 8. And it's one of the things that I love about this little church you have here in Turre. That everybody who works for the church work for it because they love Jesus. No one's paid for what they do here. They're not on the take. They do it because they love you and they love the Lord. I value that so much here. Next slide, CJ. And Paul concludes this passage by stressing that they and God were witnesses to their behaviour and lifestyle. In verse 10, he goes on with the parenting analogy, describing how, like a father, he encouraged them and urged them to live for God. And all of this done through his gentleness. There was a man in England, he went to a school fete, and at one of the stalls, he and his children won 4 goldfish. Lucky them, huh? And they take the goldfish home, and the very next day, Saturday morning, the man goes out to try and find an aquarium, to buy an aquarium for these goldfish. And he ends up at the local garden centre. Well, the first ones that he priced up, they were in the region of 50, 60 pounds, and then there was all the extras to go on top of that. But then he saw it. It was a discarded 10-gallon display tank, and it came complete with the gravel and the filter and everything he wanted. And it was £5. Sold, he said. Thank you very much. He takes this home. The tank was in a nasty and dirty condition, but he reasoned that the saving was worth the hours he was going to need to spend to put it into a clean condition. And you know, those 4 goldfish looked great in their new home. And the children were absolutely delighted. That was until Sunday morning when they got up and one of the goldfish was dead. But nevertheless, there were 3 left. But by Monday morning, another one had died. And by Monday evening, there was another one floating belly up. So the man contacted someone from their church who was something of an expert on fish. And he came down and quickly discovered what the problem was. You see, the man had washed the dirty tank out with soap. And apparently, that's an absolute no-no. His uninformed efforts had destroyed the very lives he was trying to protect. And Paul knew that we can be like that. Sometimes in our zeal to clean up our own lives or the lives of other people, unfortunately we use killer soaps. Can I have the next slide, please, CJ? Oh, and I think probably the next one. We use criticism, we use condemnation, we nag, we can have fits of temper. We think we're doing right, but the truth is that our harsh, self-righteous treatment of them is more than they can bear. Next slide, CJ. Wouldn't a little gentleness be better? You know, I cringe now when I think of what I was like when I first became a Christian. I was zealous, I was so zealous. I wanted everyone I met to know that Jesus had died for them. But I wasn't gentle with them. I just came straight out with it. Althea, bless her. Dear Althea. She had always been a regular churchgoer, and every Sunday morning she would take the children to church with her. I'd been an atheist since my early teens, and then at 27 I got saved. And I started going to church, but I went to a different church to the one Althea attended, and I started going to Bible studies. And one Sunday morning I was at home waiting for Althea to come back from church, and when she walked in I just blurted out, of course you might go to church, but you're not going to heaven because you don't know Jesus as your personal saviour. Okay? Of course, Althea was indignant. What sort of cult have this atheistic husband of hers got involved with now? It was the Anglican Church, actually, but there it is. I still maintain the sentiment was correct. But there wasn't any love involved, was there, darling? There was no gentleness in its presentation. Just like the soap in the fish tank, my efforts at evangelism were destroying the very notions that I was trying to convey. Praise God, he took over. A year later, Althea spoke to a real evangelist, and he brought her to a living faith in Jesus. Paul knew what I didn't. That rushing into Thessalonica and demanding his rights as an itinerant preacher, living on their goodwill, taking from them and charming them with fancy stories and wonderful PowerPoint presentations, wasn't going to succeed in making them strong Christians. Rather, his gentleness would endue them to him, and more importantly, to his message. So now I'd just like to try something. Could we all just close our eyes for a moment? And I'd like you all to try and think of someone you know who has helped you to grow in faith. I mean, it could be your parents, it could have been a teacher, it could have been your Sunday school teacher. I'm thinking particularly of Will Fash, one of my Sunday school teachers. Bless him. But I'd like you to try and think of that person and the qualities which that person possessed. And did they, like Paul, have pure motives? Perhaps they too shared their lives as well as sharing the gospel with you. And think of what that might have meant to them in terms of time spent away from their families, energy and vulnerability. And now I'd like you to think of some people in whose lives you might exercise that kind of ministry. Look, we all have our own unique personalities and style, and that's right because they're God-given. But how might this wonderful fruit of gentleness combine with that character of ours to enhance our relationship with people around us? Okay, open your eyes. Can I just say, gentleness isn't wimpishness. Next slide, please, CJ. You know, Jesus had been a carpenter most of his life. My dad was a carpenter as well. He was a big, massive, strong man, huge muscles. You didn't argue with my dad. I didn't anyway. But I picture Jesus as a tough-looking, strong man, not as someone who people could trample over. That isn't the kind of gentleness Jesus calls us to either. It wasn't the kind of gentleness Paul directed us towards either. In verses 11 and 12, we see that Paul didn't permit them to do just whatever they wanted to. There was a positive, spiritual goal in mind. In verse 12, he says, encouraging, comforting, and urging you to live lives worthy of God, who calls you into his kingdom and glory. And he motivated them to reach that goal with gentleness as a part of his character. Next slide, CJ. Let me tell you, witnessing isn't something you do, it's something you are. Say that again, witnessing isn't something you do, it's something you are. Being a doormat to everyone isn't the measure of gentleness in your character. The gentleness the Bible talks about is a powerful virtue. I once read a slogan, strong enough to be gentle. Strong enough to be gentle. And I think that comes closest to defining the character of Jesus. He was definitely not one to allow people to wipe the floor with him, not one to let the religious leaders of the day have their own way. He wouldn't stay quiet when they needed putting in their place or requiring correction. Yet he was always gentle when it came to submitting to the will of his Father. Now, let's apply this to ourselves. Next slide, CJ. Are we gentle enough to submit to God in every circumstance? In every circumstance, good or bad. Is our gentleness meekness or a weakness? It's a weakness when our gentleness involves us yielding to sin, but if it stems from our godliness, then it's a great strength. And I pray that God will help us all to be an example of gentleness, an example of sacrificial love to all those that we meet in this coming week. Let's just bow our heads and pray.
Before the presence of his glory with exceeding joy. To God our Saviour, who alone is wise, be glory and majesty, dominion and power, both now and forever. Amen. Amen. Be blessed, God's people. Go out and shine for him.